Welcome to another venture with Getting Lost. We are here back at Fort Canning Park for part 2, where we are going to look at the remainder of history that was left here during the colonial times. Join me as I climb up these many steps, to explore some of the colonial history of Singapore. Yep, we're still climbing the steps. I'm not a fast climber. Anyway, let's get going. Here we are where we left off last time. Part 1. We're actually at the gates here. This is the Gothic gates to the cemetery, the old Christian cemetery, which is in front of the government house, which is now the Fort Canning Centre. So as we go in here, this whole place here, this landscape garden here, this landscape open field here, used to be a Christian cemetery. And even on one corner of this plot here, there's actually some tombstones in the ground. And here is another gate which is just in front of the National Museum of Singapore. As you can see, that's the National Museum of Singapore. And here is the Aquatic Gate. And you can see there's actually a wall running around the field here, and there's actually something very interesting on the wall itself. That's as you can see here, this is the Fort Canning Centre. It's actually a very iconic hilltop landmark that has witnessed many of Singapore's historical milestones. This site here could very well have been the site of the palaces of the 14th century kings of Singapore, and it actually served as headquarters for the Far East Command Centre and the British Army Barracks. The decision to surrender Singapore to the Japanese was also made around here, and the underground Far East Command Centre, known as the Battle Box, is also nearby. This open space you see here originally used to be a Christian cemetery. The cemetery was here between 1819 to 1865, but the site was discontinued because the burial sites were getting too close to Government House, which is the building on top there. The only remnants or reminder that this used to be a cemetery is there's actually some headstones on the ground itself, and along the wall, the brick wall, there are actually headstones along the wall itself and some cupolas. But no bodies. The bodies have all been removed. So this is the Fort Canning Centre, a very interesting place with lots of history. So from Fort Canning Centre, we're going to go to the other side of the hill to show you something else, which is here. In the past, there were not so many trees in front of us because this area here, the line of sight had to be clear because of two items. One of them is this lighthouse, and also the flagstaff and the time ball, which was in this area here. Before the creation of radio, TV, television, even handphones, how people communicated from the top of the hill to the port, they used this communication device called a flagstaff. That's what you see here in front of you. So what this device does is a communication system that uses coded flags to convey a wide range of information to the public in the port cities, and this is being used not only here, it was used all around the world. So depending on where the flag is, what type of flag it is, where the flag is on the port itself, you can convey a wide variety or range of information. It can tell you like when the ship is coming in, or when the ship is going to, even tells you where the ship, which country the ship is going to, when the ship is leaving. It can tell you maybe this ship itself is there was a disease outbreak, so the ship has been quarantined, or the ship is dangerous, carry gunpowder. Also, all wide range of information could be conveyed by the positioning of flags on this port itself. For most of Singapore's maritime history, Fort Canning Hill was one of the most prominent landmarks for ships entering the harbour. Fort Canning Hill and the structures on it guided many ships safely to anchorage. So, Fort Canning Hill was actually an ideal location for the lighthouse, as its strategic position provided an expansive view of Singapore Harbour. Its height, coupled with the additional elevation of the fort that was built on the hill, made Fort Canning Hill an ideal location for a lighthouse. The first signal light on Fort Canning Hill was simply a lantern mounted on top of a flagstaff in 1855. The Fort Canning Lighthouse was completed in 1903 with an elevation of more than 60 meters. With its superior height, it was immediately accepted as an important navigational aid for ships moving in and out of Singapore's waters. And now the lighthouse, as you can see from here, has a modern solar panel, so I guess they don't have to depend on kerosene anymore to light the lamp. And now we come to Raffles House, which is this building here. The original building itself has been demolished. The original building was built in 1822, and it was actually just a wooden house with venetian and a thatched atap roof, which was actually the residence of the Raffles and his family. Then this house itself was actually bought over by the British government, and they renamed it Government House. That was in roughly around 1826. During that time, the house itself was further extended and redesigned with brick and tiles in the neoclassical style. Then in 1859, this place was finally demolished to make way for the fort, which is now known as Fort Canning. And now this building here you see here is actually a modern version and a replica of the house itself. In the past, before modern communications like radio, if you wanted to set your clocks and other timekeeping devices to a common standard time, what you did was there was actually a public service time signaling device that's provided by the British government, where it's called a time ball. So there used to be a time ball at Fort Canning Hill. So basically every day at 12:55 p.m. they would actually raise the time ball and drop it exactly at 1 p.m. So a person could set the time. When the ball drops, it's actually 1 p.m. exactly. So that's how you set the time. And the time ball was actually located here, where you can see on the map here. It's actually located behind Raffles House. In the present day, it's actually up there where it's actually fenced off. We cannot actually visit the exact location, but it was up there, right behind the building, right behind Raffles House, behind the fences there. So as you can see from certain parts of the hill itself, you can actually look down all the way down. Over here, you can look at Clarke Quay and the surrounding area, because there's not many trees blocking the view. So this is how unobstructed view you used to have from the hill itself. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me for this part 2 of our Fort Canning adventure. I hope you enjoyed it. It has been very educational, hasn't it? So, if you like what you see, please like, share and subscribe if you haven't done so. And most importantly, join me for my next adventure. That's the most important thing. Join me for my next adventure. Thank you very much and goodbye.